Hello everyone, myself Shruti Sharma. I would like to share the project of Pack of Words and Sentiment Analysis of Books with everyone. As I move forward with this presentation, I intend to share with everyone what my project topic is, how I extracted the data, what pre-processing techniques I used, what is Pack of Words, how it was implemented in the project, what is sentiment analysis, how it can be implemented, and what R packages were useful for me to do sentiment analysis on my data, what is topic modeling, which model I built, and what accuracy I achieved with it. So to begin with, text mining is one of the most expanding fields of data mining. So basically the intent here is to find how similar or dissimilar the given text could be, not in terms of the words they are sharing, but also in terms of the sentiments that they share. So basically here I intend to compare or to relate 6 books of the same author named Jane Austen. The reason here was that the same author has written all these 6 books. So I was interested to understand that how similar or dissimilar these 6 books could be with each other. That is the reason why I chose this topic to do text analysis using back of words and sentiment analysis regarding the same. Then basically how I did the data extraction was I used the R package Jane Austen R to extract my data, which has 6 books, namely Emma, Pride and Prejudice, Mansfield Park, Northanger Abbey, Persuasion, and Sense and Sensibility. Once I got my data, the most important step was to pre-process my data. Being a text type of data, the steps that were involved for doing the data processing were, first of all, I was interested in removing all the punctuations, digits, and the words which were neither letter nor number, and I tried to replace all of them with the white space. Once I was successful with this, I tried to remove all the stop words. Stop words being those words which are not informative. That means prepositions, articles like the, and, of, for, all these words do exist, but they don't add much information to our data. So it would be better if we remove these words, as the redundancy will be removed, and thereby it will help us to improve the performance of our model. Once I was successful with the removing of stop words, the next important step was to replace the contraction words. By meaning, if I am having a word like I apostrophe M, we can completely replace it with the full form as I-A-M-M. Once this was done, the next important step was the stem completion. What we did in stem completion was the words which share the same root. That means, for example, behavior and behave. They are from the same root. That means behave. The behave is the original root of the word behavior. So the goal was to replace behavior with behave. Once this was achieved, the next important step was to remove all those words, those were repetitive. That means there were words like chapter, Jane Austen, number of the pages, and all these things, because these information were existing repeatedly. But as I mentioned earlier, it is better that we remove the redundant information, because always we will have a chapter number, and we know that it will not contribute much to our information of the data. So it's better to remove them. So that was the next step, in which I removed the all repetitive words like chapter, author name, and so on. Once all these data preprocessing was done, the second important part of the data preprocessing I tried to make was create a document term matrix. Document term matrix is a matrix whose rows corresponds to a document and column corresponds to the term. Once this was done, the next step was to remove the sparse terms. That means the terms whose count were very minimum or negligible. So even though they exist very, very less time, it is quite obvious that we won't be benefit much by the information they are providing. So as to remove as much data that is possible, in terms of not hindering with our analysis or the information that they were adding to our project. So once all these steps were achieved, I can say that the data preprocessing technique was done for this project. As the data preprocessing technique was done, the next important step was to proceed with bag of words. Bag of words, as the name itself suggests, is a bag which consists of the words which occur most of the time in the particular text. So here I move forward with the text of all my 6 books and try to find those words those occur most frequently, but not all the words. I tried to find the most 50 frequently occurring words in all the books of the author. So in that case, I came with this cloud which has almost 50 frequent words. As we can say that Mrs. and Miss here are highlighted the most. So we can deduce here that these are the most frequently used words across the 6 books. Likewise, then the next frequent word would be feel, lady. So as such, the highlighting part decreases. We can understand that the frequency of the words in our text is decreasing. Once the pack of words was achieved and we get to know that what words basically forms the basis across all the 6 books, the next step was to cluster the books. By clustering the books, I mean that we get to know that which books share some similarity between each other and which books share dissimilarity with each other. By saying that, I tried to use Manhattan distance as well as Euclidean distance for clustering our data. In that case, I got to know that the 6 books were clustered in terms of in pair. That means Northanger Abbey and Persuasion formed one cluster, Pride and Prejudice, Sense and Sensibility formed the second cluster, and Emma and Mansfield Park formed the third cluster. Here we can summary that these books share some type of sentiments or similarity with each other. So once this was done, I was also curious to find which books actually distinguish with each other or the rest of the books. So for that, I used the single form for clustering, in which I got to know that Mansfield Park and Emma stands out as compared to the remaining 4 books. So it is pretty obvious why we got that here Emma and Mansfield Park as one cluster. So this helps us to confirm that our clustering is working in a proper way. Once the clustering was done, I was interested in how to find and how to get the most frequent 25 words among the pair which share some sort of similarity. So for that, again, I created word cloud between those pairs. For example, as Sense and Sensibility and Pride and Prejudice were sharing some similarity, I tried to find the top 25 words in this. And if someone has read this book, one can deduce this, that Pride and Prejudice main character was Elizabeth, and so in Sense and Sensibility, the main character was Eleanor. So here we can clearly see that our word cloud does very well in terms of letting us know that which are the top 25 words in our pair. After that, the same thing was done for the remaining 4 books, that means remaining 2 pairs, Northanger Abbey and Persuasion, and so for Emma and Mansfield Park. Once we got to know the top 25 frequent words between these pairs, the next intention was that is it possible or is it mandatory that we should have only the word cloud to find the top frequent words, or is there any other way that we can use? So yes, there exists a way, and for the more convenient thing, bar graph, as most of us are familiar with bar graph and very well know how to deduce what information is getting displayed on the bar graph, I tried to implement and find the top 20 top 10 words for each of the 6 books. So as we can see here, the 6 books are sharing their top 10 words in terms of the count. So as we can see here, Emma has this top 10 words as Elton, Emma, Harriet, Jane, Knightley, Miss, Mr., Mrs., Weston, Woodhouse. And not to our surprise, we can see here that each of these 6 books share the word Miss, Mrs., Miss, Mrs., as was confirmed by our word cloud in the earlier slide, that Miss and Mrs. is the word, are the words that are most frequently occurring in all the 6 books. So after doing this, the second important thing that I tried to find was that to pick 2 different books and try to find the count of the top 25 words and see how they relate with each other. So here we can see that the word Catherine was shared between Northanger Abbey and Pride and Prejudice, but Northanger Abbey has more count of Catherine as compared to that of Pride and Prejudice. Likewise, Elizabeth is the word that is shared by Pride and Prejudice and not by Northanger Abbey, and in that case, the Pride and Prejudice has the maximum count of the Elizabeth. as I mentioned earlier, because Elizabeth is the main character of Pride and Prejudice. To move forward, the next interesting thing was to deduce that as we have seen that Miss and Mrs. these words are the most frequently occurring words across all the 6 books. So the interest was to find that are there some words, particular words, those were associated with these 2 words. So not to the surprise, we got to know that the word Miss was related with these 6 words. For example, Miss Crawford, Miss Woodhouse, Miss Bingley, Miss Bennet, Miss Bertram. And also for Mrs., we got to know that 3 words were associated most frequently with the word Mrs. across all the 6 books that include Feston, Bennet, Elton. Once these association was found, the next thing was like to find a random word which can be found across all the 6 books. So as these words, as after seeing the word cloud, the intent was to found that what is the frequency of the word friend across all the 6 books. So we got to know that the book Emma is the one which has highest count of the word friend, while Persuasion has the least count of the word friend. So likewise, we can see and find that is there any specific word, or what is the frequency of that word across all the 6 books? Does that word occur in all the 6 books? And if yes, what could be the frequency, in what way or in what pattern we can get the count of the word? Then with the back of analysis completed, we move forward to do sentiment analysis. So by sentiment analysis, we mean here that what are the sentiment that were shared across the books and how they relate to each other or differ to each other. So there exist 2 packages in R, that are Suzette and Quidap package, which we can use for sentiment analysis. So the distinguish between these 2 packages are that Suzette package gives us fast computation, while QDEP package takes some time, but it has variety of applications that we can use and we can apply in our project to analyze our data. So this project also look forward for the analysis and the implication of both Suzette package and QDEP package to do the sentiment analysis of our data. To move forward, the main point was to find that across all 6 books, what are the positive and negative words that they share. So with that, I tried to get the top 100 positive and negative words of the book along all the 6 books. So in that case, we found that the negative words are this section and the positive words are distinguished here. That means I specifically used red color to indicate that these are the negative words, while blue color to indicate these are the positive words. So after this, across all the 6 books, we were able to achieve the positive and negative indicating words. The second step was to find, are there any sentiments, or based on the sentiments, how the books share the similarity or dissimilarity with each other. So for that purpose, we tried to narrow down our search and took only 2 books among the 6 books and compared them on the basis of 10 sentiments, including joy, trust, surprise, anger, disgust, anticipation, fear, sadness, positivity, and negativity. The result that we found was all the positive words, the positive sentiments to be very precise, were nearly same that was shared between the Pride and Prejudice and Sense and Sensibility books. The reason being, we can see here that Pride and Prejudice has 6904 positive words, while Sense and Sensibility has 6807 words. But as we move towards the right side of the plot, we get to know as we moved towards the negative sentiments, the count is slightly distinguishing. That is, the Pride and Prejudice are having dissimilar counts in context of the negative words. We can see here that Sense and Sensibility is exceeding or dominating Pride and Prejudice in terms of anger, in terms of anticipation, in terms of fear, in terms of sadness, and the most in terms of the negative words. So here we can deduce that in terms of positive words, Pride and Prejudice and Sense and Sensibility are somewhat on the similar page, but when we think about the negative sentiments, there exist scenarios where they differ with each other. So once we saw this 10 sentiments across the 2 books, the next thing was to see about the polarity concept. In the polarity also, as we saw earlier, the positive and negative sentiments were there. We can here also use the polarity in terms of positivity and negativity. So negative words here indicates, the most blue words indicates that they are highly negative, while the red ones indicate they are highly positive, while the words indicating with white color indicates that they are neutral. They are neither positive nor negative. And same way, here we can see the jitter plot, which helps to understand that how they are sharing the positivity and negativity among each other. So here we can see that all the words are here indicates the negative words, and all the points here indicates the positive words. To move forward, the next point was to use histogram to understand, with the help of polarity, that the same books that we shared earlier, Sense and Sensibility and Pride and Prejudice, regarding their positive and negative words that they share. So here we can see that in terms of the positive words, Pride and Prejudice is dominating Sense and Sensibility in a good amount of count, while in terms of negativity, they are here on somewhat on the same page. So this was visualized with the help of histogram, so as to understand, as we know that histogram is one of the most used graph to understand regarding the bin and the frequency of the particular concept. So here also we tried to understand how we can represent the same concept with different visualization and to implement it. Once this polarity concept was understood, the most fascinating part was to find that we are saying that we are analyzing the text. So by text, we mean not only words, but also sentences. So also these forms the many important part in our day-to-day life, and also the part of speech which forms the basis of the grammar of our language is also one of the important part. If we are analyzing a text, parts of speech also forms one of the important feature. So the QDAP package has the feature which helps us to find that what part of speech does the particular word or text represent. So this can be helpful in the scenario where we try to teach people with different figures of speech of a language. So in that case, and not only this, I have tried to explain it for the language of English, but R has different varieties of language which one can use to explain the part of speech or to fetch the part of speech for the words. So here I only narrow down to have limited quantity of numbers or words, so as to have a clear idea and not to overflow the data. So the scenario here, what I did was I used only the top 10 words of the book Northanger Abbey and tried to find out the figure of speech or the part of speech that particular word represent. So the result were that Catherine, this word, as we are familiar with, mostly represent a name of a person or a place. So in that case, Catherine comes to be a noun, and that's what we got to know, that it is a noun. Here we can see that JJ is an adverb, NN is the noun in the singular form, and then S is the noun in the plural form. So here, general is an adjective which was represented here as one, that is 100%. It is an adjective with no distinguishable quality. Likewise, Isabel is also a name, so it comes as a noun of a singular form. That's why it came here as 100%. For similar context, Mr. Moreland also comes with the noun, but when we see Mrs., it is a singular. We can say that Mrs. is also a noun, but here it is considered as a noun with a plural form. So here we understood that how the part of speech could be extracted from our text. Moving forward, the next thing was I would like to share with everyone the dictionaries that are used. As I said that in context of the language, we can have any languages that we are intended to share with our audience. Same is for the dictionary. With dictionaries, I mean that there exist 4 different types of dictionaries in R for this text analysis. For that, the first one is GI, which was discovered by Harvard. The main intention of this dictionary was to help with the psychological words. So if a person is studying psychology or intend to share some knowledge regarding the psychology with respect to text analysis, it would be very beneficial for the person to use the GI library. Likewise, there exist HE and LM as Henry's Financial Dictionary and McDonald Financial Dictionary, which focuses its main intention to have the user known about the finance related data or the accounts related words. So in that case, whenever a person is working with the finance sector or account sector and want to analyze the text, the vocabulary would be very helpful in regards with these two dictionaries. And for our generalized purpose, the dictionary that we are using as throughout the project is the QuidApp dictionary, because it is the one which helps for the general audience to do text analysis and to distinguish that how the sentiments are and how they can be related to each other. So the next step was to find that how these dictionaries differ in terms of having the negative or positive sentiments reflecting words. So here we can see that dictionary GI has 2682 negative words, while positive words they have as 10668. Likewise, for LM, they have 2832 negative words and 10,580 positive words. The QuidApp dictionary that we use have 3,144 negative words, while 10,206 positive words. But to much surprise, the dictionary HE, which is also a financial dictionary, has the least count of negative words, that is 269, and the highest count of positive words, that is 13,081. Then once the dictionaries and the analysis was done, the most important and fascinating part was to understand that what is topic modeling. So topic modeling is a modeling technique which helps us to understand how the documents are related or how the documents actually reflect our topics. So here we used the LDA approach, in which we get to know which topics are important with respect to our documents. So it is somewhat similar to PCA as we do for dimension reduction, but not exactly. There are some points where these two distinguish with each other. So that will form the later part of our slide, in which we will get to know a point where the topic modeling and PCA gets distinguished from each other. So the main point here is, as we change or as we choose the number of topics that we are intended to do, the model of our project will vary. So the thing is, in general, we can say that more the number of topics will be there, there would be more nuance. So it is very wise to choose the number of topics in a way that will help our model in a positive way and will not make it in a negative way. So the next step was to have the sparsity of 99.5%. I used here the sparsity of 99.5%. That means I tried to remove those words which have zeros of 99.5% or more than that, so as to get more strong grip on the words which are giving us the redundant information. After doing this, we found that what topics or what terms are related to our particular topics. So as I mentioned earlier, that the number of topics that we choose highly impacts our model quality. I tried to use only 4 topics here, and as we can see here, we are able to find which terms are related to our 4 topics. So these are the top 10 terms that are closely associated with each of our 4 topics. And if we change these topics, as instead of 4 topics, we are choosing 5 topics or 3 topics. So accordingly, the word that we are getting or the terms that we are getting associated with these topics would be changing. So here, when we scrutiny or when we scan these words, we get to know that each word, some or other way, helps us to find or represent some sentiment or some information. So we can see here that there exist no stop words in our terms list, and we can say that we were successful enough to have our stop words removed from our data. So after these topics were created and the relevant terms were obtained relating those topics, the second intention was to find how these terms, we are saying that yes, the terms exist in the topic, but how they are contributing to the topics. So here we get to know that, for example, a quant word is related to topic 1 or contributes to topic 1 with this number. Similarly, the daughter word or the daughter is related to the topic 1 and is contributing to topic 1 with this number. So in this way, we get to know that how much each and every term is contributing or are relevant with respect to our topics. Then, as I mentioned earlier, that PCA and topic modeling are somewhat similar, but there exist a points where there is a dissimilarity between the two is of correlation. As we know that for PCA, the correlation doesn't exist. But in terms of topic modeling, we can see the topics are somewhat related to each other. So we have this correlation matrix and to understand that how the topics are correlated with each other. After that, as I mentioned earlier, that we have used the top 10 words that were used to understand that which words are actually correlated or which words are actually related with the topic. So it is not necessary or mandatory that we should use this, that we have to find the top 10 words or we have to find the top 20 words. The another way is based on this values, we can also set a particular threshold value that will help us to know that make us know that the threshold beyond this threshold value, which words or which terms are related to our topic. For example, if we choose that we want to know the terms having the threshold value of 0.003, so with our topic, so in that case continue will be there as it has 0.03 of relation with respect to a topic 2. So I tried to do this and tried to fetch the words which has the threshold of 0.0075 and find out all those words for all our 4 topics. So this is the list that we obtained. So we can see that it's not like that we don't have the words that we earlier have here, but yes, we have more words here, more terms here to be very specific as we have broadened our search criteria. So now, as I mentioned earlier, that it is very essential or very mandatory, not mandatory I would say, but it is very important that how many topics are we choosing for our model. So the next question that strikes us, that is there any way that can help us to find out that how or what number of topics would be beneficial for our model? So the answer would be yes. There does exist a technique in which we can find that what number of topics could be beneficial for our model. So there exists 2 approach. One is for using the log likelihood, and the second would be the perplexity thing. So the LDA models having counted with terms of log likelihood and the perplexity helps us to understand that how many topics could be relevant. So here the x-axis indicates the number of topics that we are intended to do. So here we have taken topics from 2 to 20. So the thing was the minimum count of the topics were 2 because if we choose 1 as the minimum number, so by default we are considering all the document, complete whole document. So that doesn't make any sense. It won't be that relevant. So the minimum number of topic decided were from 2. So here as we see that minimum number of topic is the best idea for our project because we are getting a good amount here in terms of minimality. So as we can see this graph, we can assume that a topic of 2 would be better if we have to obtain a good model. Likewise, if we go with the perplexity concept, we will get to know that again, the fewer the number of topic, the better it would be for our model. So here also we can say that if we have the fewer number of topic, boom, we can go with it. So as we can say that perplexity and log likelihood are giving us almost the same intention or the same vibe that have less number of topics. So we can say here that topic 2 or number of topics as 2 would be beneficial. Once this was understood, the next intention was to do the modeling, to build a model, and I tried to use it as a random forest classifier model to be built. And with the help of our sparse words removal and everything with the document term matrix and our book as a target variable, I tried to build a model. The thing is that here we have used books as our target variable. So is there any scenario where it impacts or the model could be built in a very good way or it could affect the modeling of our model? So the answer would be yes, definitely. See, if we have more number of books, so there would be more association levels, right? So, to be very precise, there will be more classification levels. And if there would be more classification levels, there would be more chances of having error in our project. So the thing is, suppose, for example, we have 2 books with us. So there exist 2 That is, if we have two books here, there would exist only a one level of error. But if we have three books, there exists two levels where we could prone to error. Likewise, as the number of books will increase, we will be more prone to have error in our model. But as we know that the intention of this project was not only to do the classification and calculating the accuracy, but was also to do the analysis of sentiment analysis and bag of words. That is the reason why I chose 6 different books. Had it been the project only to work and focus on the model building and accuracy, I would definitely have tried to choose less number of books, as it would have made my model to give more accurate results. So here we can see that we have 500 number of trees and the sample size was 60,779, and Gini index was used for calculating our accuracy. But as I mentioned earlier, as the number of books or our target variable will reduce, less our model will be prone to error and we will get more accuracy. With this, I would like to conclude my project with the thought that bag of analysis, bag of words and sentiment analysis is really a very good tool or a very good approach to analyze our text and to understand our text, study it, and to have it utilized for the betterment of human interest. Thank you. Stay safe.